Hey guys, and welcome to the vlog, a Christmas special. So yeah, Merry Christmas, it's that time of year, so we're here again to paint some more minis for Christmas, and I thought what better way to do that than this Underworlds warband, the Sons of Velmorn. This king is amazing, so I really want to paint him, and I thought for our little chat today, we'll talk about Underworlds and some impressions on it, that sort of thing. I thought that'd be a good idea as I'm going through all the sub-games coming into next year, but we'll talk about that in a second, and do some impressions on it. This one will be done in my usual scheme for those that know. It's a blue-green blend plus some color glazing into brass, that sort of thing. I'll leave links in the down there for the other Blight videos that are in that style, but yeah, it's a really fun process. He's going to look pretty cool by the end, and we'll have a nice picture of him and the rest of the Velmorn crew at the end of the video, so that'll be cool. In addition to that, we're going to talk about some news, things coming for the channel, that sort of thing. We'll reflect on the year and minis that I've painted and that sort of stuff as well. We'll go through all of that, and also some Blight of Gods related news for next year. I've got some exciting things coming for that as well for my own brand, but yeah, I thought that'd be really cool to just go through that and have a nice little Christmas special, so I guess we should get started, eh? Okay, so what a year it's been, hey? Yeah, a lot of things going on, both in, the world, in all of our lives, that sort of thing, and in the hobby as well, and creatively. I mean, this year's been a pretty big year for a lot of things, and a lot of things still going on around the world, but we won't get into that. This is about, the hobby and the fun stuff that we do outside of the real world, right? So yeah, it's been a good year. I've painted a lot of minis over the course of this year, and got into a lot of different games, experienced a lot of new things, which is really great. Coming back into the hobby, that was always, a goal of mine, was to explore and find out, what else is around. I love GW, I love Warhammer, but it's nice to see all the other companies and all the other sort of offerings that you can explore, in this hobby, and that's a real great thing. Including my own Blight of Gods. If you want to check that out, just links in the down there. You can have a look at my stuff. But anyway, we'll get onto that later. Yeah, so just reflecting on the year. We've gone through a number of different videos on different schemes, different color schemes. From Stormcast to Soul Blight to now. By this video, you will have seen some MCP and some Star Wars Legion. So, I've been exploring around and trying out different game systems, and we're going to go further into that coming into next year. So we're going to be looking at a bunch of sub games and that sort of thing, and I'll be doing some impressions on it, and we'll be doing some color schemes and some different ways of approaching it, and that's going to be really fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. But we've got quite a lot that's been done already. So while I'm talking, hopefully I would have put up some images for you of some of the minis that I've been going through and painting over the course of the year. I might have thrown up a few maybe that haven't been on the channel. We'll see what I do, but definitely I've done some MCP off channel as well to build up my team. With MCP, if you don't know, you sort of build a 10-man roster of superheroes, and then you kind of draw your team or your group from that when you play your game. So yeah, it's an interesting way to design your list or to build an army list, I guess. And yeah, it's pretty fun. So that's been really cool. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how everything's gone. I think just generally it's been a fun experience just dabbling in all these different sorts of games. Yeah, it's definitely expanded my own painting skills and that sort of thing, and hopefully with the videos and the variety of them, hopefully it's helped out all you guys as well with trying out new things and that sort of stuff, and learning and growing for your own hobbies, right? That's part of the point. So yeah, I'm really happy with all of that. So going into next year, so what do we have? Well, there's going to be, as I've said, more sub games. We've got, I've got a range of different videos I'd like to do for the channel that are going to showcase that. We're going to be doing obviously some Legion, some MCP. I should have a few more videos for that. Infinity. We're doing more on that as well. Plus the sub games for GW. There'll be more Underworlds, that sort of thing. I mean, their range is amazing. We'll go into that topic later. But there's a lot there, right? So we're going to be doing that, and obviously, and then going into Blight of Gods, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, there's going to be a lot there. But in addition to that, we're also going to be dabbling in terrain. Now that's a topic that I haven't really tackled on the channel at all, actually, and yeah, it's a really fun one to do, and I've been playing around with spray can techniques. So you're going to see some spray can techniques to get the painting of terrain done a lot faster. And I'm going to do this video or series of videos hopefully in real time, so you can actually see how fast the process actually is. Because I've been painting some tables for my gaming group, and you know, with this kind of approach, you can paint an entire table's worth of terrains, that's like 10 to 12 pieces, in like an hour. Okay, so it's very, very fast. Think of it like I guess it's like the contrast method, you know, when you do for painting, but for terrain, right? And using spray cans. And it's a really fun method. It's basically using the concepts of zenithal spraying. So like when you undercoat a model with, you know, with white, and you spray from the top, and you get that sort of that tonal range, and the light on the top and the dark on the bottom with the black undercoat underneath. But instead you're using colored sprays and doing a process of zenithals and various angles using spray cans and colors. So you end up with this very colorful look, and it looks like it's been dry brushed, but it actually hasn't. And so that's what I'm going to be going through and showing you, which I think will be really exciting. And you can literally get it done in minutes. It's so fast. So for those that are looking to just get their first table done, or you know, they just want to get some functional terrain that's completed, this is a great approach. So yeah, we'll be doing that. That's going to be exciting. We'll talk more about that in the future, but that's definitely coming for next year. And then in terms of tech and so on, I've been talking about this for over a year now, but I will be upgrading my camera at the very least. But I'll be working on some improvements to, you know, up the level of the videos generally. You might see my face, I don't know yet, haven't decided on that. When you do sort of like the camera, you know, looking at you at the person talking, or that kind of segment, as you know, a lot of popular YouTube channels do, you kind of need to set up your space sort of a bit like a set. You know, you've got to set the lighting correctly, you've got to do all that sort of thing, you know, colored light. Every single one of these videos seems to have like blue and yellow light, you know, going off in different directions. So you got all that sort of stuff you got to deal with to, like, you know, make it appealing, right? And so I'm not quite sure whether I want to go to that extent just yet. But you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I don't know. Having the anonymity of like, you know, not being on the camera is kind of nice. You know, just being able to talk to you like this quite casually is pretty fun. But I guess being on camera too is good too. So I don't know. It's one of those things I haven't really decided on yet. But we'll definitely be improving the camera, so that's cool. So then finally we've got the Blight of Gods stuff. So with that, I'm pretty excited. So I'm working on my skirmish game, as I've mentioned before in previous vlogs. Yeah, and that's coming along really nice. I've decided to go for minis for this. So that means sculpting a range of 28mm figures. So in addition to the 75mm scale figures that you would already see on my store, I'm going to be doing a whole range of 28mm, and so to accompany that skirmish game. But the minis will come out first, and the game will come out later. So I'm not quite sure the timeline yet, but you'll definitely see some 28mm figures coming out in the following year, and they'll be the Undying Cult, which is my sort of main undead faction, and then which are Necromancer faction, and then you've got some demons, so the Darkspawn. So they're like sort of amphibian demons. So you'll see a range of those hopefully over the course of the year, and I'll be looking to do pre-supports. So all my STL files will then be pre-supported for 3D printing. So at the moment they're not, but they will eventually all become pre-supported. So that'll be good, and that'll be in a lead up to the skirmish game when I finally release it. So either the end of next year or into the following year after that. So that'll be 2024. You'll definitely see a new game from me. So that'll be really fun. So I'm really looking forward to that process. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully we'll see some good minis to put out there in the world, and hopefully if you're into that, then you'll be able to, you know, enjoy that as well. So that's really cool. I'm really excited for that. So that's pretty much the news, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything that I want to cover for this one, and by now the king should be getting fairly well along the road to being painted. So before I finish painting that mini, I think we should get on to this little informal topic and talk about Underworlds. So yeah, Underworlds, you know, what a game, really. I mean, it's probably, you know, I would say without a doubt probably the the game that Games Workshop makes, it has probably the best range of miniatures, right, for fantasy. If you just look at it in terms of just the quality per pack they do, everything really, even the price point, it's a really amazing game, really, for that point of view, and really interesting in relation to the other games. So I guess I'm lacing this with a very positive beginning to discussing Underworlds, but it really is a solid game and a solid range of minis. And I think that's a really positive thing for both the hobby and Games Workshop generally. I think that's really cool, and I hope it continues. It definitely says a lot about the designers and sculptors that are part of that team that produce those minis. I think that's where the real star is shining, is in that design team and those sculptors. But yeah, let's take it back a little bit and talk about this in a more thematic way. So Underworlds. I've now played some games of it. I've gotten into it. And it's very fun. It's initially I didn't know whether I would like it. Like, I played my first game with the vampires, and I found it was okay. There were certain sort of mechanical elements of the structures of the game that I found a little bit jarring, and one of those was when you make a move, when you charge, that's all that the character can do, and it can't do anything else for the rest of that particular round or whatever. And I found that a little bit kind of, I guess, boring, because you've only got 4 models, and if one of them moves and attacks, then that's it for that model, basically. There are some ways you can get them to do stuff with cards and so on, but essentially you're losing 25% of your overall moves. So it's kind of, it makes it a little bit kind of, I guess, boring. And so with the new Narwood box, they've updated the rules as well, and you do actually have an option with a character that's done a charge. You can actually move them and so on, and actually at least still have them part of the game, and I think that's really important. It's one of those things that I'll be talking about with MCP when we get to it. But in MCP, I'll just say it briefly, but for objective taking, you have to stay on the objective in order to score the point. You can't move off it. Whereas in Age of Sigmar, let's say, for instance, once you've controlled the point, you can move off the point and you still own it, right? In MCP, you can't. So that also limits the effectiveness of your minis, right? In some ways, that's tactical, but in other ways, when you've only got 4 or 5 models on the board, you're basically losing a huge percentage of the active pieces that you can have fun with. You know what I mean? And so that's an element of the game that isn't necessarily to my liking totally. In terms of MCP anyway, because everything's so close, it doesn't matter so much. But because they can still do things at range. But in Underworlds, the range element of the game is very limited. So if you're just standing there and you can't do anything, that mini is basically null and void effectively, more or less. So it's nice that they've altered that and improved that. And so the next subsequent games that I played have all been really interesting, and I've really liked it. The Narwood pack is pretty cool. I like the new format, the way that they've changed it, but it definitely has improved things a lot for the game. And I think just thematically, it feels better and feels more interesting. And so overall, I'm pretty positive about my initial experiences with Underworlds and Narwood. I think that they've got a good foundation there to move forward. I do like I guess it's a system they've already had previously, which is, I won't go into it too much because it's very complicated, but for players that were playing this previously, they were playing a thing called Rivals Plus, which is kind of like what they've got now as their standard kind of system. They just don't call it that, so they call it Nemesis. So it's like you have your standard game is basically with the deck that your warband comes with, and then you have this additional sort of, they're almost like universal decks that anyone can use. And at the moment they had 2 that came out with the Narwood box, and now they're releasing another one, so you can then include those cards from one of those decks into your sort of warband deck and create a mixed deck basically, and so you have this Nemesis sort of more competitive play, I guess. And so it's pretty simple. The naming conventions, I think, they're not too bad. They can be a bit confusing because they're all called rivals, and so you've got these rival decks with rival format, and then you've got Nemesis format, but the Nemesis format uses rival decks and the sort of universal rival decks, and it all gets very confusing, as you can probably tell just by me saying that. It takes a while to get your head around it, but I think they probably should have just thought about the naming convention a little bit more and kind of separated it slightly. That would have been good. But once you've understood all of that and you understand what's going on, then it's relatively simple. And so the gaming experience is actually a lot better. I definitely enjoyed it, and I've been using vampires for each of the games so that I get a better sense of what I'm experiencing and how that's going for me. And I'm enjoying it immensely. I think it's a great game, and and I touched on this earlier, but the price point of it is pretty much amazing, right? I mean, it's at least in Australia anyway. Yeah, in Australia it's very well priced. So you're getting a warband for like $50-$60, and obviously cheaper in hobby stores and third party outlets. You're getting that for cheaper as well. You're getting a really high quality set of miniatures. I mean the model range is outstanding. These Velmorn undead minis are awesome, right? And I think no one would ever deny otherwise. They're really, the design team and the sculptors that do the Underworlds range are extremely honed and tight in terms of how they produce and what they're actually putting out there, and they're also having a lot of fun. You can tell that in the minis. The sense of fun that comes through in those designs is there, a little bit like Blood Bowl, right? You can see this sort of lightheartedness with it, but also a great sense of seriousness when it comes to actually like implementation of design. The minis are just well made. It's just that simple, and you just can't go wrong. The price is good, the minis are good. Even if you just don't play it at all, just from a painting point of view, you can satisfy a lot of those urges you have as a hobbyist. Like you think, oh, I want to start an army of this, or I want to do that. Well, you can just there's undoubtedly an Underworlds warband that is that faction or that race, right? You can just pick one of those up, paint a few of them, and usually that will satisfy your inclinations, and you're saving money. You're able to like wean yourself off that temptation to drop $500-$600 on a new army that you end up maybe not playing very much or not even enjoying, whereas you can spend $50-$60 and get yourself a little crew of them, enjoy them, and you can even have a game with just those small number of models and get that out of your system so you can move on. So I think for a lot of reasons Underworlds has some pretty good benefits to it, generally speaking, and especially from a fantasy point of view, it's a wonderful game. Now, is the game system that great? Well, it's definitely got good points and bad points to it, or not. I wouldn't call it bad points, but just areas of the game that I think could be improved or shifted slightly for a game that size. But ultimately, it's a very tight and well-made game ultimately. But yeah, in terms of longevity, I guess, and sort of the things that will you play it a lot often? Well, that's another question, right? And does it, because then you're starting to get into the sort of the comparisons to things like MCP or Warcry or other game systems, or even Infinity as well. How do they compare to this, and are they taking your attention away from something like Underworlds? Is it really like as it was designed to be, the ultimate competitive game, right? Is it that, or is it something else? And I tend to think that it's actually something else. I think that it is competitive and it is very satisfying from that point of view, but I think it's offering something else, and that something else is what I just talked about. It offers you a way into a sort of hobby fantasia, something like that satisfies a lot of other needs that you have as a hobbyist that aren't necessarily just gaming. It gives you a fix that is it's an intangible element that game seems to satisfy, that none of the other games really do, because after talking to a lot of people that play Underworlds regularly, I mean, they just they sort of get into all the warbands, and regardless whether they play them or not, they sort of collect them. It's satisfying all those collector aspects of your nature. They're also painting them as well. Like a lot of the time I notice that these minis don't go unpainted. Out of my collection, I've painted all of them. Like, it's weird. You actually complete it for some reason. There's something going on there in the chemistry, the way this game is designed and presented to you. I find that as a hobbyist, you tend to actually both purchase and complete them on a fairly regular basis. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that, but it's a game that you actually finish. It's one of those few ones where you actually end up with something at the end that's complete, and I find that unusual. So for a lot of reasons, Underworld's got this right level of elements to it that I think is worth having a look at. You know, it's the game's not for everyone, but just from a hobby point of view, it's definitely something to look at. So I think that's sort of the overarching kind of feeling I'm getting from this, is that the design is great, the minis are awesome, they're priced really well, and I'm sure that is for most countries around the world. And the gaming experience itself is nice, it's fast, it's tight, you can play it quickly, you can play multiple games. There's that element of iterations in your tactics, so you can alter and you know, keep going and keep you know, just altering the moves you're doing over the course of each game. And then you've got that deck building element where you can change out the cards and that sort of thing, and build yourself a better deck. So I think with all of those things, Underworlds is definitely you know, yeah, got something really special going for it. But in terms of other comparison to other games like MCP, well, we'll talk about MCP later. But yeah, I think overall Underworlds definitely sits there and is up there as one of those games that should be considered if you're looking for a skirmish game, both to play competitively and from a hobby point of view. I think both things it satisfies very well, and I think that, you know, Games Workshop's done something really great there, and hopefully it continues and they continue to push that, because yeah, I'm just enjoying everything that they release. So I don't think there's anything that they've released that I've thought, oh no, I don't like that. And everything's been really, really fun and enjoyable to look at and to paint, right? So with that in mind, let's now, I think we've talked about Underworlds enough. Let's jump back in and see how I've gone with Velmorn here, and see if I've enjoyed the process. And we'll take a look at all the minis together, the whole warband, and get some closing thoughts, because it's been a fun one. I hope you've enjoyed it. So we'll continue on and check out the King and see how I've gone. And there we go, all done. So let's take a look. Yeah, so yeah, these are just awesome, right? Like this warband is, you know, just really, you know, bang on for what it is. If this is what the new Graveguard are going to look like when Soul Blight eventually drops for 3rd edition, then we're looking pretty good. Like I can imagine the whole unit of these, you know, yeah, it's pretty awesome, right? If you're into this. So yeah, if you're curious about it, or you just want to get into some undead, this warband is, you know, one of the best that you can probably buy for the money and minis that you get. It's pretty awesome, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and this blue-green blend is still doing it for me, so I hope you all enjoyed that. So yeah, so another year done, you know, Christmas is on the way, as I said at the beginning, so I hope you guys all have a great Christmas and a great new year. You'll still be seeing videos on the channel. I've got more all planned out, so I think I'm up to February or March or something, so there's a bunch of you know, videos on the way, and a lot of minis that I said I was going to do earlier in the year are now coming out then. So just a little bit of a sneaky, I guess, insight in there for you for what's coming. But you should enjoy them. They're pretty cool. And yeah, and I think we'll just see how we go into the new year. As I said, there's a lot of new videos and ideas that I've got for the future, so that'll be really great. And hopefully we continue on and you know, paint some cool minis, right? So yeah, have a great Christmas and a great new year. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.